choke and die. Buh. And we'll fill for a minute, and then yeah. Let's see. What sort of thing do we want the people listening to this on YouTube hear that the people listening to the regular show won't?
Hmm. All of Dirk's secrets.
Dirk, do you even have secrets?
I'm sure if you just need to do a search for them.
Do you have a basement?
Hang on, let me Google Dirk's secrets.
What was your question, Brian?
Do you have a basement?
No.
Hmm.
I mean, that's good because then you don't have suspicion of hiding bodies there.
It's true.
Yeah.
I
Well,
was
and
gonna
I
say
also
everyone with a basement has a secret. So
I also don't have a closet because if I did, I'm sharing it with Chelsea.
Which means you don't.
Which means she'd find all my skeletons if that was the case. Because she'd be like, "I'm gonna go find something to wear to work." There are bones here. No.
we'll just tell her they're for science class. You're a science teacher. That
No,
makes
she'd have
sense.
told me to get them out. Be like, "Nope, they are not staying here. Either do something with them." So, or get all this stuff out. Clean out the closet now. Not staying here.
Hey, that was
Anyway.
an Eminem song. Clean out my closet? No? Okay. Just checking. Right then, here we go. Ow, jam. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Manapool. This is episode 717 of the Manapool. Is that a plane?
No.
What was it again?
717.
717.
It
Not
was at one
747.
point, but it's not a current one.
Okay, well.
Oh, so we're an old school plane.
That's good because it would probably just crash. So, hello. This is episode 717, which sounds less fun than 717. I don't know why. And I am Chewy. And this is the Manapool.
Hey.
I got Dorks here. Hi, Dorks.
Hey.
Uh,
I'm Brian. I'm the lead rambler, tangent master of the group, and I am definitely a dork. So, and I'm okay with that.
I should hope so. You've been a dork for a long time.
I have, but I feel like it's become a lot more in vogue than it used to be.
And not just a capital D, person on the Manapool dork. No, I mean you're a dork, Brian.
Absolutely. So's Mike.
yes, I'm Mike. For our magic content, I'm the rules guy and the game lore guy. For our other content, who knows? Haven't really determined a niche there.
But yeah, you're the guy that doesn't say anything because you have no interest in the things that we've talked
Because
about.
I haven't watched the movie, I haven't seen the show, I haven't read the comic, I haven't this, haven't that. Yep.
Yeah, at some point we're gonna have to all sit down and figure out
Haven't
what we
played the
can
game.
do that Mike can get in on.
And I'm Dirk, the self-proclaimed greenest man alive and moral compass of the group. And I bring some, wit to the show. Really
But any
awful dad jokes
wisdom?
to the show.
Sure.
A lot of nerdiness to the show in a different way.
Oh. Apparently I'm just rude. Excuse me. Ugh.
Well, we knew that already.
I try not to, vomit directly into the listener's ears. I try not to.
You try not to. And
mean,
that's
no-
a noble
no promises.
ambition.
So, Right. We are recording this, episode 717, on Thursday the 13th, not Friday the 13th. That's
No.
different. This is Thursday the 13th, and tomorrow is that pointless corporate holiday where we all go out and buy a heart-shaped shaving lotion or something.
Mhm.
It's Valentine's Day. Yay, retail holidays.
I was, part of me was like, yay, but then I was like, yeah, just because I don't hate it, but I don't, Carrie and I, don't really do a whole lot special for it because we don't. I don't judge people that do,
I
like
do.
Dirk. Ah,
Dirk.
but we mostly stay in and let everybody else go out and go crazy. So
Chelsea and I plan on walking around a mall. That's
hey,
gonna be our Valentine's.
that's more than I'm planning to do.
We're gonna go see a play at the Little Theater of Winston-Salem Saturday evening.
Oh, neat. That sounds nice.
Mhm.
Hmm.
What play?
I think it's called Ma Bell's Black Bottom.
Hot.
It's about a blues singer in the 20s or 30s or something.
Still sounds hot.
Right?
Yeah.
I have no idea. Renee and I will probably hang out here.
That sounds like
Probably-
a very solid plan.
I probably need to stream. I haven't streamed at all this week. Since Monday. I keep having... Yesterday, I had back pain in 2 different areas of my back. Because I'm old. Like, I had a spot, like, underneath my shoulder blade, so I couldn't rub it. And then, like, down here on my tailbone on the right side, so I was limping.
Mhm.
What? I was like, I need to stream. I want to start Final Fantasy VI, but sitting and moving and not moving hurts. I'm not going to start Final Fantasy VI. I can't start... I hit my elbow. I can't start Final Fantasy VI on Valentine's Day. Right?
No? I mean, don't you love the game? Like, isn't
Yeah.
it your favorite Final Fantasy game?
It is, but, like, I can't start it on Valentine's Day because that's potential audience that's not there.
That's true.
Mm.
Oh well, I'll push it off till next week again. Oh yeah, don't forget Chivos for Charity. I've decided I'm gonna tentatively, hopefully permanently, put it on March. No, that's February. March 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. That way, if something horrible happens, I can push it back till the next weekend and still be at the end of March as advertised. But I've also decided we're sticking with Trans Lifeline as the charity. So I'm not gonna go through the whole spiel because you've heard it on multiple episodes in a row now. But I've got lots of Steam games to give away. Come donate to charity and get Steam games. And when I say lots, I mean 4 digits lots. Like, lots. I'll be going for 12 hours on Friday, on Saturday, and on Sunday. And then I will die.
Rule number 1, first rule.
I mean, not all the way dead.
Okay, just like partially dead.
Yeah, it's mostly
What is it
dead.
from Princess Bride? Mostly dead.
Yeah, I'll
something?
just go see. I'll get Renee to drag my corpse to a Miracle Man, and
Yeah, Miracle Max.
he'll coat the pill in chocolate, and yeah, we'll be good.
How appropriate. Well, that's after Valentine's Day,
I
but
was
how
gonna say
appropriate.
no. That would be appropriate if I was doing it this weekend.
Can we get a Spaniard and a wrestling champion?
No. Best I can do is a Hispanic and a wrestling fan. And we don't have a Holocaust cloak. We could find a Holocaust denier though. So
Oh, dude. Oh.
yeah,
Uh,
it's not a good time.
No. No. Think positive thoughts. Be like Peter Pan. Come on. Come on. We can make it through this.
Windy, I can fly. So, like I said, we're doing this the day before Valentine's Day. And so Brian had the idea, let's talk about things that we love. And then he goes, not like, I love my wife. No, none of that crap. Well, I'm the one who said none of that crap. Because I know you love your wife. No one cares but you and your wife. I love Renee. No one cares but me and her. Like, the rest of all, you're like, all right, Chewy. Like,
No,
I'm
but
sure
like-
these three all love their wives. No one cares. We don't care if you love your wives, guys. I'm happy you love your wives. I don't care.
But more like the things that we enjoy, especially since we've been trying to broaden our scope and talk about, things we enjoy from a hobby perspective, from a gaming perspective, from movies, books, TV shows, things about our lives that are not about work, but they're more about our identities as far as dorks and what we enjoy. So things like that. What do we love? And not just like. And I know when I suggested, and I'm not sure what these guys will bring up, but it's kind of probably a loose discussion. But I've made sure to include in my list some guilty pleasures because, Valentine's Day, you've got the chocolates and all that, but then every now and then somebody breaks out the fuzzy handcuffs, and you're just like, ooh, and you're like, you're judging that person, but you're also like, yeah. So it's healthy to
I
talk
think
about
Brian
our.
is telling us a little more about himself than we wanted to know.
If you had just seen
And-
the face I made when Brian said the fuzzy handcuffs, I'm like, what?
Also, the fact
trust
that
me.
Brian said we're judging them, like, I'm not. I mean, that's not a guilty pleasure. That's pleasure.
Well, and there you go. See,
Brian,
there
are
you
we
go. So,
admitting a few things that we
well, so now, and see, this is different
Speaking
people's
of guilty
perspectives.
pleasures,
See,
Brian's
this
like,
is
what? I thought this was part of the shared human experience. Is it just me?
And I like
Spying
how
on
just from
Brian
three-
and his guilty pleasures is my guilty pleasure. If you
I
hear a
like
noise
how
outside the
even-
window, Brian, just ignore it.
I like how even just from you three, the spectrum of responses. I mentioned something like fuzzy handcuffs, and Dirk's mouth is on the floor, whereas Chewy's just like, yeah, it's Thursday, so I like how there's the spectrum of responses. So,
hmm
but and that just goes. We all enjoy different things, and I even said at the beginning of this that I feel like being a dork, being a nerd, being invested in fantasy, science fiction, video games is a lot more accepted now than it was 30 years ago when we were in high school.
Yeah, I
which,
used to get
again, let
made
that
fun of
number
for playing
sink in.
video games.
Yeah, sure. You were not the only one.
And then the PlayStation
now-
happened, and all of those jocks suddenly decided that games were cool. And for some
Well-
reason, everyone was just okay with that.
Well,
I was like, wait,
PlayStation.
can I punch these idiots for playing video games now? No, because they're still bigger than me.
I think PlayStation was important thanks to Lara Croft, but the Xbox is what sealed it with Halo. So, but
Well, the PlayStation was the
being that-
first one to like market to normal people and not, people that played
Yeah.
video games and kids.
true. Yeah.
That's why
Go
I say
back
that's where it
and-
started.
Go back, and I think on YouTube you can find like commercials for the original Legend of Zelda game on the NES, and the commercial is like a nerd talking to a cool kid about Zelda, playing Zelda at home, and it's clearly aimed at young adolescents, and at least one of them is wearing glasses, and neither one is wearing a football jersey. So yeah, the marketing has changed. But so some of the stuff that I have on my list is stuff that maybe I felt a little guilty about at the time. It was more of a guilty pleasure and is now more widely accepted. Hey, everybody's got
Hardcore
fuzzy
pornography.
everybody's got fuzzy handcuffs, right? So Side note, when I announced I was getting married, I was working for the clerk of court's office um, before I went to law school, and I was the only guy in the office. Me and like 20 plus women, and they threw me an in-house um, wedding shower. I'm not sure what you call it. It's like bridal shower, but Carrie wasn't there, and they, knowing me and knowing how I wouldn't say I'm uptight, but I'm pretty straight laced. They had fun with the gifts, and I'll just leave it at that. I loved those ladies. They were great. They were great. But so if you want, since I this is kind of my idea, and I've got a lot of things on my list, I'm gonna kick this off with something that, and some of these things are things you're gonna know about me if you've been listening to the show for 17 years or 15 years or 2 years. But some of these
Or
I'm
4
gonna go a little
episodes.
more into depth. Hmm?
What? Nothing?
Okay. Uh, so some of these you might know, but I'm going to go a little more into depth with them. And so this is not a huge surprise, but when it comes to games, especially card games, but also video games and board games, I enjoy chaos. I like thinking about Magic the Gathering. One of the first alternate formats that I really enjoyed was it Plane Shift, where we had the planar cards and you could roll the
Plane
planar die. Was
Chase.
that called Plane Chase? Thank you.
Yeah.
In my notes I
Plane
wrote Plane
Shift was
Shift
the
question
set.
mark. Plane Chase. And if you guys remember, I came up with a variant on this years before Wizards did, where I took a bunch of art from a bunch of common cards, and I just kind of cut out the art so that you could tell what the card was, especially if you'd been playing like we had. And I wrote down a cheat sheet. At the beginning of each player's turn, they had to draw the top card of that deck, and something would happen. I've always, and you guys did it with me like twice, and you thought, okay, it's pretty cool, but then we never did it again, because you wanted to play Magic, which I don't blame you. But I've always enjoyed chaos. I think that's one of the reasons why I enjoyed Magic for as long as I have is just the unpredictability of it, and one of the reasons I never could get into it too competitively, because when you play competitively, you are tuning a deck to perform the same way every time. That's kind of the point. And you're testing the deck ad nauseum, maybe with or without the card ad nauseum, so that you literally know how it'll perform in every matchup. Oh, they play this, you play that, etc. And I couldn't do that. Examples, if you play Magic, are the card Warp World, and as well as Chewie's favorite, heavy sarcasm there, Shared Fate, because Shared Fate is an enchantment that gives you basically everybody else's deck to play. And I think for a long time I thought about why I liked that card, and I think part of it is, oh, they Chewie built a sliver deck. That doesn't sound like Chewie, but go with it. And Dirk built an artifact deck, and I can see how those two work together. But I think on a deeper level, it's because it really does heighten the sense of chaos. I do have a note here though that I wanted to mention. As much as I enjoy chaos, I don't always love it when it resets the game. Like when you hit that one plane in plane chase where everything's wiped. And I don't
Mhm.
love it when you've been playing a game for an hour and everyone has to start over. To me, that doesn't feel fun. That feels like, well, what have we been doing? I don't. If it's a part of the game and has a chance of happening, it's a low chance. Then I don't know that I hate it, but it's not really why I like chaos. I'm not like, yay! At any moment, the game could be pointless. But I do like elements of chaos, and I enjoy that in other games as well, not just Magic. I use this as easy examples because I think a lot of people come to us for Magic, but games where there is a degree of uncertainty. Um, Everybody knows the game Clue, right?
Yep.
And
Yes.
Sam, Sam, 2 Christmases ago got the Harry Potter version of Clue, and it largely works the same, except in addition to rolling a die to see how many spaces you can go each turn, you also roll a second die that has all the house crests on it, and when you roll a house crest, there are doors that open and close around the house. You spin a little wheel, depending on which house crest comes up, and it may open or close different passages. So I kind of like that. I and there's more intricacy to that. There's a dark arts card deck, and I'm not going to go into the whole thing, but I like that dynamic can change the game. I like games where they don't play out the same way every time. I'm sure no one is shocked by that, but again, I thought I'd go ahead and get the discussion started with that. And I want to hear what you guys love, but I also would like to hear, in reference to that, who enjoys chaos and who hates it. Dirk hates chaos.
I think I like
He just
a different flavor of chaos.
how so, how do you mean?
Well, like, I hate your shared fate deck because I want to play with the cards that I brought to play with, not with a random assortment of everyone else's crap that I didn't bring to play with. But I do love messing with things like in game. Like, I've played Warp World several times. In fact, I think it was me that played the Warp World the last time we played Magic.
That wouldn't surprise me because I do feel like you played with Warp World a lot and those types of effects. And for those listeners that are a little newer to us, yes, when I brought up my shared fate deck, Chewy got to the point of saying he wanted to know when I was playing the deck. He did not want to be surprised by it. Therefore, he could either A, play a deck that he was not had not been what he'd been working on for a while and he wanted to show us, or B, go get a snack. So
Well,
I feel like more
I gotta go drop a deuce for the next. How long is this game gonna take? 2 hours? All right, I'll be back in 2 hours.
I feel like more of the first, like just playing
Yeah.
something that you didn't mind, but occasionally like not that again. And I get that. But so you don't mind some chaos in the game, but not to the point that you feel like it invalidates what you brought to play. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. Like, I don't mind wrecking someone's strategy in the gameplay itself. You know, like I used to play the deck that won by casting a wrath effect, killing everyone's creatures but my own, and then casting biorhythm. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but
Didn't you also have the deck that had the bad enchantments, like the blue enchantment that goes on a land that would just like suck the life out of you or something? Maybe I'm
God, yeah,
thinking of the wrong thing.
it was like a
You're
taxing deck.
thinking-
It was all the things that made everyone else have to use all of their mana in ways that they didn't want to.
Right.
Like the
think Gabe
Rashadan
that too.
pirates and the psychic venom and all that to make people not want
Psychic Venom. That's the card I was thinking of.
to make people not want to not be able to cast the stuff they want to cast, but not by using
Right.
like counter spells or anything like that. Like you can cast it if you want to, it's just going to cost you.
Not Armageddon Wrath of God,
Yeah.
or Wrath of God Armageddon is the other way. Mike, you said something about Gabe.
I was thinking Gabe also had a Psychic Venom deck.
There were two Psychic Venom decks at the same
Yeah.
time.
Maybe it was something
Whoa.
that he made when we were in high school. I mean, that's
Still, that's kind of trippy. I can see two Sliver decks. I can see two Beast decks, two Affinity decks, but two Psychic Venom decks. That's impressive. In the same county, no less.
yeah. I did enjoy the shared fate games in the sense that I enjoy the concepts of stuff like the Momir Vig thing in Magic Online.
Yes, I love
that is
Momir
also-
Vig.
That has also
Yeah.
been ported into Arena for
Mm-hmm.
for special events every once in a while.
Yeah.
Because it felt like that sometime. It's basically, of course, that mode didn't exist at the time yet, but it's kind of the same concept. In that sometimes you just want to draw a card and not know what it is and figure out what to do with it. Sometimes it's a massive pain in the neck, and sometimes it's interesting. It's
Mhm.
more to me. It's more often interesting than not.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you mentioned Momir Vig because I had forgotten about it. And it was on Arena like 3 or 4 weeks ago in like
Fairly recently.
midweek Magic.
Yep,
Yeah.
midweek magic
And
event.
and thank you. Momir Vig completely encapsulates the sort of chaos that I love. For those that you know what, you're better at explaining things than me, just in general. So how does that work?
Okay, so how it works is that um, the original was based on the concept of the Vanguard cards, which is like a special oversized card that you start the game with that modifies your usually modifies your starting hand size and life total, and also gives some other effect. Now,
Vanguard
on
was kind of like the first version of Commander in a certain sense.
in an odd in an odd way, yes.
Yeah.
Um, so the way on the Magic Online could implement things that you just couldn't do in real life because it's a digital game, and there was a special Momer Vig Vanguard where the ability was that you could um, pay some mana and discard a card, and it would just make and it would give you a random creature with a converted mana cost equal to the amount of mana you paid to use the
Mhm.
ability. And there became a very popular format that was just the deck was entirely basic lands and the Momer Vig avatar for both players. Uh, so you're just kind of guessing. You have in mind some things that you could get at each level of mana cost.
Mhm.
Sometimes you have in mind. It's easier with some. It's easier with some numbers than others, and you just see what pops out of the random number generator, and each player just plays the game as best they can under that restriction. And sometimes it leads to there are some corner cases where it leads to a really frustrating, stupid experience. But a lot of the times you just get stuff that would normally never show up together and
Yeah.
interact in odd little ways and just make for completely unique
Yeah.
experiences from game to game.
You haven't played Momir Vig long enough if you haven't died at least once to accidentally paying 7 and summoning a phage.
Yep.
And
Yes,
just yep. Yep.
So I feel like
That
we've
always
gotten
ends up well.
seriously off topic here.
very.
Yeah. I wanted to go into that a bit just because Momir Vig is super chaos. But thank you, Mike.
Sure.
Dirk, anything you want to say about chaos, or shall we move on to the next thing that someone loves?
It has its moments.
Yeah. I mean, listen to our episode, what, 2 episodes ago to hear what we think about chaos at the end of Final Fantasy 1.
Ah, I see what you did there.
Yep, yep.
So, Dirk, what you got?
Um, well, I'm gonna do a quick tangent before I get to mine.
Oh, Jesus.
So I can tell you that Chelsea's thing that she loves currently is the Curse of Oak Island.
What is that?
It's a old History Channel. Well, it's a show on the History Channel that is. There's an island up in Nova Scotia that they find all kinds of wacky, weird things dating from like the 1100s all the way up to like the 1800s. And this is an island that, and they're not like, well, they're finding Native American artifacts. I mean, they do find some of that, but they found like a lead cross that dates back to like the 1300s. And if you know your history and everything, like 1300s, I don't think there were Europeans over here then. Yeah, that's the weird thing. So
Hmm.
there's like a treasure that's supposedly buried that may have Knights Templar kind of origins to it, or it could just be banished gold, or it could be the royal the French monarchy's royal jewels before the French Revolution killed everybody. They don't know. There's just all kinds of weird stuff that's not like, well, all the artifacts come from this time period. It's like an 1100 or it's like a 800-year span where random artifacts are found that fall within an 800-year span of human history. And
Wow,
so it's just it's a show
kinda
that she
nuts.
likes to put on while she's, either playing Minecraft or studying or something that just, she just likes having it on in the background, but also watching episodes. And so it's kind of like how Mythbusters used to be her thing that she would put on,
Mhm.
watch, but also do other things. So that's her current one. In
So
terms of
Not
so
things,
not to poop on this, but it's also on the History Channel, which means most of it's probably fake.
yeah, well,
aliens and whatnot. I don't see. I was. It's funny because I was kind of picturing. You said that they're artifacts from like 800 year span. You know how like in the Transformers movies, like they sent the Allspark to Earth, and then it turned out that the sun destroying thing was on Earth, and then it turned out that the gate thing that Sentinel Prime one was on Earth, and like there's a comic I saw once making fun of Transformers where there's a transformer on Cybertron. He's just throwing junk into the air, and another one goes to him, "Where's that stuff go?" He's like, "I don't know," and then it just pans to Earth where there's just a pile of Transformers junk just like piling up on the surface. So I'm just kind of picturing Oak Island as the
sort of like
repository.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
So the one thing that I have a list of things that I really love and everything, but if I want to focus in on one thing, something that I really really love is the story of Arthas Menethil from the Warcraft series.
Yeah, he showed up starting in 3.
Yeah, Warcraft 3 is when he shows up.
Okay.
And the reason why I really like his story is, his name says a lot about him, that he's based on Arthur, but it's I don't want to say a perversion, but you know, a
Hot.
reworking of the name Arthur. But we
An
always, whenever
inversion
we go
perhaps.
through like English, we learn about the hero, the mythical hero who goes through what is it, the story, the journey, or the
The
hero's
hero's
journey.
journey. Yeah.
He always that there are certain elements that the hero always follows when he's going on the hero's journey, and so on and so forth. But one thing that I think should also be discussed is the anti-hero.
Mm-hmm.
And in this, there's you have different anti-heroes and everything, but the anti-hero that Arthas is the true anti-hero, not the comical, he's the hero, but he does, like the Punisher, he does bad things because, he's a hero, but he does things in a way that's not, like Superman style and whatnot. But the anti-hero follows the journey of someone of high society who is given many things and has huge potential and chooses good in the beginning, but then through some sort of character flaw makes a mistake,
Hmm.
and then because of that mistake they fixate on it and they continue to make more and more mistakes that compounds to the point where there is a tipping off point where once they pass this point, there is no return to being the hero, and they officially fall into the anti hero trope. And he fits that to a T. That he's the son of the king. He has been given everything, every opportunity. He is the knight, the shining armor and potential of this kingdom. He's brought up to be a paladin. He's falls in love and almost marries the daughter of an allied kingdom, and he he just makes little mistakes here and there that eventually lead him down the path of no return, and that is when he orders the scouring of Strathholm. And continues to go down until he eventually, takes up the rune blade Frostmourne. And at that point, there is no return. And eventually leads to one of the most epic characters ever, the Lich King.
Spoilers, I
Cool.
guess.
Do what?
I said spoilers, I guess.
I mean, for a game that came out in like 2002.
I think he's just ragging you, man.
Yeah,
I know.
it was a joke. Oh,
I
also,
got-
I forgot to mention that Mike just resubbed, for the 59th month, but also Bogard just resubbed for the 40th month. Thanks, buddies.
I think the story of the antihero, as you say, is an interesting story in and of itself, because you do have it's the inversion or the perversion, of
The fuzzy
of
handcuffs.
the traditional hero's journey. Yeah, it is the fuzzy handcuffs of the hero's journey. Let's face it, for all of us that played Kingdom Hearts 1, by the end of it, how many of us wanted to play as Riku? I mean, Sora is great and all, but like Riku gets to be kind of a good guy, but you also get where he's coming from, and he just seems so much more self-confident. And
In the first Kingdom Hearts, Riku was an easily manipulated twat. Yeah, I said it.
Chewie has feelings about Riku, I guess.
Riku
But
sucks.
my
in the first
but
game.
my point in the first game, but in Chain of Memories, which is the story that links 1 to 2, there is a half of the game where you get to play as Riku, and I think for a lot of people that was a major draw. I do think a lot of people are pulled along with the concept of the antihero, if nothing else because most stories we have, especially the traditional good versus evil stories, hold the hero up to be a paragon of virtue. Do like the good guy. What was it? What was that magazine that you always saw in the dentist's office where it was like, do like that guy, not like him, not like doofus or whatever, right? Do you know what I'm talking about? Where it had the idiot and then the good guy,
Goofus
and
and
it was like
Gallant?
doofus and gallant. Thank you.
Goofus.
Goofus and gallant. Thank you. Doofus
Was
applies
that
as
in
well.
dentist's office? What are we talking about?
Highlights
feel like
magazine.
Thank you. Highlights magazines. Mike knows where it's at.
Were they in highlights?
I think
Yeah.
so. Yeah.
Oh,
Showing
I did not
our
know
age
that.
here.
I thought they were from like the 50s or something. Oh, they were from the 40s. Okay.
But
when Highlights for Children was founded was in 1946. What?
Well, but see, and think of the post-war, environment.
Huh.
There's a lot of a lot of stories are moral stories. Do the good thing, not the bad thing. If you disobey your parents and wander off into the woods, a witch will eat you. If you stop to, on the way to grandma's house, the wolf will eat grandma and then you. Lots of being eaten. But so we get inundated with those stories since we're literally in the crib. So then to have a story like Arthas where it's like he's a good guy, he makes a couple mistakes and you're waiting for him to get better. And I played 3 relatively short after it came out, and watching him go down that slide. And then I liked how the first campaign was the Alliance, the humans. The second campaign is the Scourge, and it's fascinating because in the first campaign you're playing as Arthas, and in the second campaign you're playing as Arthas, but messed up. So and he's going further and further down the dark path. So yeah, good choice, Dirk. And that it's a very you, like I totally see you loving Arthas's story.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I was looking up stuff and like, what is the anti-hero's journey and everything, and it's a lot of what I was saying in it is, they often it kind of mirrors the hero's journey, except that there's things missing from it. Like instead of having the mentor who comes in and helps guide the hero on the path. There's a antagonist, or
Mm.
who's not really the antagonist per se to them. It's the antagonist who's out there to challenge them by, you know, pulling them further down, away from their scruples and what their original hopes and dreams were, until they with the intent on forcing the hero to fail, and in
Like
doing so continuing to bring them down.
like Maleficent in Kingdom Hearts 1, and Riku being, how should we put it? A manipulated little something.
Easily manipulated twat.
There you go.
But
Yeah.
it's kind of like, the story of Darth Vader, that, you know, he's supposed to be this, the Jedi want him to be this, and everything, and to build him up, and Obi-Wan's there, but the person he tends to talk to, because he's always, you know, saying, "Oh man, this, oh, but they keep not helping you and everything," is Palpatine.
Yeah.
Palpatine is that person who keeps goading
Hmm.
him into the
Hmm.
point where he fails, and then he's like, "Well, I can't be a successful Jedi. They're not challenging me and all this." And so there's that. And in Arthas' case, it's uh, not it's the guy who becomes one of the liches. I
Yeah,
can't.
and the wizard that becomes a lich.
Yeah,
I
the
remember.
wizard who becomes the one of the liches. But
What
yeah,
Yeah.
franchise are we talking about now?
this is going back to Warcraft, going to
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Arthas. It's
Yeah.
the guy who, you know, goats him in the very beginning, and then is sort of like the
Goads. Yeah.
yeah,
Not goats. That's something else. That's polymorph into goat.
the sheep. They're the ones you click a bunch of times and they blow up. So, but that's the one I really love that story. So,
Just not to make this topic take forever, but
Too late.
I don't love this. Too late. I don't love the Star Wars prequels, and we've talked about this before. Sequels, prequels, blah blah blah. I will give the prequels some credit that the relationship between Anakin and Palpatine, I think, is actually done well, especially compared to some other things. You can see the manipulation there, and you can see Palpatine is not just like, be a bad guy, it'll be cool, come to the dark side, we have candy. It's more playing him based off of what he needs to hear. And the Jedi, for all of their detachment from the material and all that, are not understanding why Anakin is like this and what his needs are. And Palpatine is right there with that pitcher of Kool-Aid. Dark
Yeah.
Cardboard Samurai says Kel'Thuzad.
Kel'Thuzad, that's who it was. I was like, it starts with a K, but that's all I can remember. But yes, Kel'Thuzad, because that's such an
Cardboard
easy
Samurai
thing.
to
It
the
rolls right
rescue.
off the tongue.
He has a kitty. Right then. Well, hey, Mike, you don't have a list, so how are you going to wing it?
Well,
Calling
um,
him out.
one thing that I really love is, um, well, in general, reading about science, but specifically reading about space and big space things and cosmology and stuff like that. So, star formation, planet formation, um, black holes, cosmic microwave background, radiation, things like that. It's just really fascinating to think about and read about and learn about the large scale structures and the incredibly um, huge uh, time frames that things happen on and things evolve over. And then also closer to home, the solar system and the different planets in it, and facts about them and how they're arranged, and the moons and the atmospheres and the rings. It's just really fascinating. I love it. I love reading about it. I love learning about it. Even if it's something that even if it's something that I already knew and have read a bunch of times before in a bunch of different places, it's still interesting to see things about space.
Hmm.
Cool.
The James
I
Webb
am.
telescope has been very awesome. I have thoroughly enjoyed having things that we were like, okay, I think we figured this out. Hubble telescope, we figured out pretty much everything. There's some things that maybe James Webb will help us with and everything, and then it started being used, and we're going, okay, we're pretty wrong after looking all this stuff. That stars can be bigger than we thought that they could be.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the structure of the early universe was like the size of objects then are way bigger than they should be. I mean, some of the stuff that they've been looking at from the images. My favorite is students. Whenever we showed the pillars of creation, they're like, yeah, that's a really cool picture from Hubble and everything. And then you look at the James Webb and you're like, oh no, James Webb picture's so much better because you can see so many more things by looking at it's looking at what the infrared side, but by looking at that, because you cut through all the dust and you can see everything behind, and it's so pretty. So yeah, and the pictures are so
Um.
much clearer. It's awesome to look at some of those pictures.
So, of the four of us, I am the least sciencey person. I mean, Mike just came out and said it. He's obviously got a lot of interest in this. Dirk teaches science, like as a job, and then Chewy has a degree in
Physics.
physics. So I am the least sciencey person, but I absolutely agree with Mike that sci- science, especially when it comes to outer space, stars, all that, I also find that fascinating. But when you think about magnitude, when you think about, oh, I'm sitting in my room right now on the computer with you and thinking about the scale of me to my house to the neighborhood I live in and on and on and on. And then to get into outer space and think about black holes and just truly enormous scope, I think is fascinating. I've mentioned before I love Kyrgyzstan in a nutshell. I'm probably mispronouncing that. It's a science channel on YouTube. They have all sorts of informative videos that I enjoy, and one of my favorites has like what are the biggest objects in the universe and talking about like black hole stars and the things at the center of galaxies. And there's one where they rank like the largest stars and they try to do a scale where they just keep zooming out and zooming out and
Uh-huh.
zooming out, and it's just
I like
amazing.
those.
Yeah. So I'm with you. And then I always thought I was more of a fantasy person than a science fiction person, and I think I still am to a large extent. But my brother for Christmas, not last year but the year before, got me Project Hail Mary, and I really enjoyed it because hey, here's a guy and he's talking about science and math, and I understand what I'm saying, what he's saying. I think he must be a teacher or something. This is the guy who wrote The Martian, and then last year for Christmas I got The Martian for my mother-in-law and enjoyed it, but I think I liked Project Hail Mary better. And I like that just approach to science and how I can kind of understand it and not feel like a dummy. I also read The Three Body Problem and I enjoyed it, but I really felt like a dummy. It really felt like super cerebral, and I'm like, my head's gonna explode. So, but yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm certainly not trying to take over what you're saying. I think you probably enjoy this to a greater degree than I. You probably understand the science behind it better. But stars are pretty, and black holes are cool. I mean, like it's a giant life-sucking vortex.
I mean, it's
Not
not,
really.
but
It's
fair.
not
No.
really. I know. I know. I liked the
Yes, but
movie
actually no.
yeah, I liked the movie. What was it? The Black Hole Hole by Disney when I was a kid, but the ending, spoiler alert for a movie that came out in like the 70s, where they go through the black hole, creeped me out as a kid because I just assumed that they died. So,
Here's a reminder that on the Deep End YouTube channel, which you should go subscribe to, because that's where the stuff, once I get life settled and start making those videos, that's where the Lord of the Rings videos are going to go.
nice.
Clues and I did a full ass like stream explaining like the history of telescopes essentially, and then talking about why the James Webb is so insane way back when it first came out. And it's in what, 3 or 4, I think, parts?
4 parts, I think.
Yeah, 4 parts on the Deep End YouTube channel. So you should definitely go watch those.
Nice.
And
Yes,
please
they're very
subscribe
good.
because I haven't hit the subscriber threshold to be able to monetize that channel yet. uh,
There you go.
but yeah, the space is one of my early loves that I never stopped loving. Like, it went, I think in this order, I think it was dinosaurs, astronomy, Greek mythology.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah. If you hadn't said Greek mythology, I was going to throw it in there because that was basically my 5th through 7th grade education was those 3 topics. I remember doing a presentation on the Greek gods. So, yeah, that I think is a very typical area of interest for young people when we were growing up, at least of our persuasion. I did not get Norse mythology until I was older because all the names were way harder to pronounce. Keep in mind, this was before Thor was really a big thing, at least to the extent that he is now. So you hear about like the Norns and you're like, what? So, but
Yeah.
Zeus, everybody gets Zeus.
Norse mythology is funkier because there's like 2 main sources for almost all the stuff that were written quite a while after it wasn't common practice. Like it wasn't very commonly.
The Prose Edda and
Yeah.
yeah,
The Poetic Edda?
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
But
it's one of those cases where if only it had been recorded down over period instead of everything has only been recorded in a couple of those, that there's so much mythological history that's been lost because of that.
yeah. But Greek mythology is easier to understand and is, or at least was taught in most middle schools as part of history. So I don't know what they teach these days, but we're not focusing on the burning excrement pile that is today's educational system.
It
So
has
yeah,
its
good
moments.
choice, Mike.
While we still have one. Anyway. Is it my turn?
Yes.
Yes, it's your turn.
This is why when Brian said, "Oh yeah, I've got this massive list," I'm like, "We're gonna talk about each one for like 10 to 20 minutes. Like, what are you talking about?" Uh, so, I only have 3 things on my list because, like I was telling the dorks in the pre-show, like if I'm like, I like Skyrim, people be like, "Yeah, Chewy." But like, I like the MCU, people be like, "Yeah, Chewy, we know." I'll be like, "Okay." It's like if Dirk is like, I like Star Wars, I'm gonna be like, shut up, Dirk. Like,
Quick, Dirk, cross it off your list.
yeah, we know, Dirk. And if Mike is like, I like beards, like, I'm coming through the internet to kill you. Cause yeah, we know. But anyway, so I wanted to go stuff that I love that I don't talk about all the time. And I figure with this one it's broad enough, but also it's been a hot minute since I talked about it. So I love roguelike video games or technically roguelite, but I don't have that conversation. So if you're like, actually, Chewy, shut up. I love so roguelite games are fascinating to me because it's yet another of my rants about how video game genres don't mean anything. Like
Mhm.
roguelike
Mhm.
is like it's not a gameplay genre title exactly. It's more of a structure genre title because several years ago I did a roguelikes for charity stream where I again picked up a bunch of roguelike games and then put them all on a wheel and would just play one for 30 minutes, an hour, or whatever. And there were first person shooters and like an entirely new subgenre called that I don't even know if there's a proper name for it yet, but the Vampire Survivors type game where it's not a bullet hell. I've seen it referred to as bullet heaven because you're not dodging the bullets, you are the bullets. Um, and there's platformers and there's card games and there's deck builders. There's a bunch of roguelike deck builders.
Mhm.
So the actual like genre of the video game is less relevant, but roguelike is a structural thing and it's based on now this is a quick and dirty off the top of my head description, but
Mhm.
roguelike games are based on runs. So like you start at the beginning and then you go as far as you can and then you die. And when you die, you're done and you start over. But the ones that I love have like a progression system that stays with you between runs. So like I looked at my Steam library. Let's see. Let me do it again. Oh wait, no. Roguelike games sorted by hours played. I've got 172 hours in Hades.
I was gonna ask, isn't Hades? I've never played it, but from what I understand of it, isn't it one of the ultimate examples of a roguelike?
It is one of the best. Yeah, it because of the way it integrates the roguelike structure into gameplay and story progression and all of that. Like death is just a thing that happens in a roguelike game. You're going to lose. But with Hades, when you lose, after you go, damn it, you'd be like, "Ooh, I get to, go back to the Palace of Hades or whatever it's called and further my progression with the various characters and talk to people and see what's up and this and that and the other." And you have to do that. Like because not to toot my own horn, but I was really good at Hades when I started playing. Like I got my first completion in I think it was 16 runs, which is apparently really good if you've never played it before. And then but like Ben, and I hope he doesn't mind me using him as an example, he was less good at the actual playing of Hades because it's very like twitch, it's action, and you have to have fast reflexes and all that. And for some reason, this is one of the one of the few games like that I was good at. But so I was getting completions pretty quickly. He wasn't, but he was way further ahead in the story than I was because every time you die, you go back and you get more story.
Hmm.
And so it's cool because I'm, working on getting my leveling up all of my abilities and unlocking all of the different versions of weapons and whatnot. And he was way behind on that, but he was like basically done with large chunks of the story that I had not even started yet. So
Isn't one of the
it's oh,
sorry,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, isn't I've played some gotcha games or games on my phone or other games I've tried that are not necessarily always roguelike, but they may have like a roguelike mini game. Like, oh, here's a little thing where you can do a run. Isn't it usually a feature, and correct me if I'm wrong, where there's a decision tree? Like, okay, you go up a ways, and after a certain amount of progression, you choose between like one of three items or something, and that can lead you down a different tech tree. Is that common? I feel like I've seen that a couple times. Or is that like I thought in Hades you could choose the blessings of different gods depending on how your runs were going, right?
Yeah,
Or is
like
that just
one
whoever
of the
bothers
other
to show
things
up?
about roguelikes is the randomness. So
Thank you.
in
Yeah.
in the case of Hades, like which boons or which gods you run into over the course of a run is random.
Mm-hmm.
And you're
Okay.
trying to
Thank you.
build, well, you're trying to create a build for your character that works. Like all of your different bits will interact with each other and integrate to be good. Like if you've got, for instance, the sword, if that's the weapon you're using, you probably don't necessarily want the like the Zeus boon, the every time you make contact with the weapon it shoots out extra like lightning bolts. Like you probably want to save that for a weapon that hits hard or hits more frequently rather than hits harder, because the sword is more slow and big damage.
And that sort of boon is going to help with weapons that hit faster but not as much,
Yeah,
like a multi-attack sort of thing. Yeah, okay, I got you.
yeah. So that's the other thing about roguelikes. Like I said, is the randomness. Like with Hades, it's the different boons you get in trying to go with whatever weapon you've chosen, and you want to make a build that works. In, for instance, like Dead Cells, which is essentially a Metroidvania style platformer roguelike, and you're trying to get weapons and sub weapons and items or whatever they're called that work well together with the stat boosts that you choose, because you've got 3 different stats that you can choose to level up. And a thing that I was doing early was try to level them all up evenly, and that's not what you want to do. You want to pick one and go hard on it.
Mm.
So like if you've got your main weapon that is buffed by boosting red, but your ranged weapon is boosted by leveling green, well, you're working against yourself here. Get you a ranged weapon or a secondary weapon that also buffs with red, or vice versa.
Right.
Excuse me. But like Rogue Legacy was the first roguelike I ever played. And you have, every time you die, you go back to the castle and you select one of the heirs of the character that just died. And there were different character classes and whatnot, but all the money that you got in your previous run, you would have to level up or unlock new things or whatever. And I really just fell in love with it. Rogue Legacy 2, by the way, if you haven't played Rogue Legacy, you can skip it. Play Rogue Legacy 2. It improves on literally everything in every way. But the thing that I think I love about roguelikes, especially as a streamer, but also just because of my own like personality, is that it's great to just one more run, sort of like Dirk in Civilization. Okay, one more turn and then I'll go to bed, and then it's 3 a.m.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like there were a bunch of times streaming Hades when I'd be like, oh, let's do one more run, and suddenly I've been streaming for 5 hours. I usually stream around 3 hours and stop 11:30 or so, and I'd look over and be like, it's 1:30. Hold up, what? Like because you want to see how far you can get. You want to see what the next build is. You want to see what happens when you die and go back. You want to see what sort of upgrades you can unlock with whatever. And I've played a bunch. Just my top 3 are, as far as playtime, are Hades, Rogue Book, which is an evolution of Slay the Spire's gameplay that I fell hard into, and Vampire Survivors, which I'm still not done unlocking all the stuff from the Castlevania DLC. Dear Lord, the DLC was huge. The next tier, which is over 60 hours, is Slay the Spire, which is a deck builder like Rogue Book. Well, Rogue Book is a deck builder like Slay the Spire, let's be real. Balatro, which is that not quite poker roguelike deck builder that everyone that has played it has gotten hooked on it. Dead Cells, which is the Metroidvania one, and then Forced Showdown, which is a weird deck building. You do your deck building ahead of time, but then in the game it's like a top-down dungeon crawler, but you're also drawing cards from your deck that are upgrades and items and abilities and whatnot, but also finding boons, not boons, but finding stuff in the game that helps you. It's a big mishmash of things. And it's so great because you can do anything with the roguelike structure. Like Hand of Fate is an adventure game with snippets of Arkham style combat. Dicey Dungeons is a dice rolling game where you're rolling dice and using the dice that you roll to have certain effects depending on which character you're playing and whatnot. FTL is Faster Than Light, is a spaceship combat simulator. FTL is really hard to explain to someone who's never played FTL, and if you have, you're like, yeah, it's FTL. It's one of those games. Yeah, like there are so many of such variety that like I said, I did a whole charity stream about them. Like there are first-person Heavy Bullets is a first-person shooter. Tower of Guns is another first-person shooter roguelike. Crypt of the Necrodancer. Is that a roguelike? I don't know. It's listed under...
Yeah.
It is? Okay.
I would say so.
It's a rhythm game. Dungeon crawler roguelike.
I am not good at rhythm games, but
You are
I know that people
very
love
white.
I am so white. I am like white chocolate.
But they're like top-down shooters, and Spelunky is a platformer. Super Wagon Adventure, I don't think that's roguelike exactly. But again, it's listed here. The Last Encounter is a game that was sent to me by the developer. It's one of the few times that's happened, which is a top-down like space shooter roguelike. And it was a lot of fun. So yeah, I just love the structure of having runs and randomness, and especially the overarching progression system that, you know, persists between runs. Yeah. I
Question
love
for
these
you.
games.
So back when at least 3 or 4 of us played Hearthstone, they introduced that mode in the tavern where you kind of drafted a card every round, and then you would build the deck, and the round I think would last about 10 rounds, and the cards auto battled. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Mike, do you know what was that called?
I don't remember what the auto battler mode was called. It's been so
Okay.
long since I last played it.
But Chewy, are you remembering this?
I mean, I thought you were talking about dungeon runs, but you're not. You're talking about Battlegrounds?
Is it battle? I think it was Battlegrounds. So like it's kind of like a draft, but you would build the deck as you went along, and if you picked the same card multiple times, it would turn into a gold card and would have bigger stats and stuff, right? So my question for you is, would that be considered a roguelike
No.
variant? Would that be like roguelike mode?
No.
No, that would be something else.
Yeah,
Because
that's-
nothing persists from one run to the next.
Well, that, and it's a different kind of randomness. That's
Okay.
more... That was the Hearthstone take on auto chess, which was an auto battler, which was another brand new genre that came from Dota 2. Which is weird because Dota came from a mod in Warcraft 3.
Warcraft Warcraft 3, which takes us back to Arthas. It's all connected.
And then Dota 2 was a standalone game that was based on the Defense of the Ancients mod. And then
Mhm.
Hmm.
there was a mod in that called Auto Chess, which spawned its own genre called Auto Battlers, which the only one that I'm aware that's still going real strong and supported, I guess Battlegrounds probably still is, but it's the one that's in League of Legends. What's it called? I
I've
played it for
never
a
played a
while.
single game of League of Legends, so
What the hell is that? Team Fight Tactics. There we go. Thank you, Internet.
good old internet.
Yeah, wasn't Dungeon Run was more of a roguelike, wasn't it?
Yes, I would say so.
Yeah. If you want to stick to Inside Hearthstone.
Okay,
And I loved Dungeon Runs too.
there you go.
All right, what someone else got? Unless you want to talk
So I
about
guess that
roguelikes some more.
I mean, they are fascinating to me. I have not played nearly as many as you do. I guess just as a minor side note to that, without taking up a lot of time, I've always been a fan of limited, drafting, sealed. I mean, the first tournaments I ever played in these guys with were pre-releases, and
Yep.
they are still the only tournaments that I really go to. And one of my favorite things on Magic Online as well as Arena has always been drafting. So that I enjoy everybody kind of coming in, and yes, somebody's going to get lucky with their pull, whatever, but everybody basically starts out with the same thing. I'm going to kind of take it in a different direction because I think we've talked a lot about games and stuff like that. I am going to do a guilty pleasure here. So it may not surprise you to learn that I like action films. No big surprise. I'm not like a super macho guy, but I enjoy stuff blowing up. I like some Michael Bay movies more than I like some foreign films. Sue me.
D-
What you may not learn, and this is a bit of I'm laying it all here. I am a sucker for sappy moments in action films, and you might go, "What?" But yeah, the president's speech in Independence Day. A lot of the father-daughter dynamics in Armageddon, which, by the way, if we're talking about guilty pleasures, Armageddon is one of my favorite movies. Fight me. It just is. Is it a good movie? No, but I love it.
which
I
is
still
what
like
I
to
keep
watch it.
telling people. You're allowed to like bad
Yeah.
things.
Yes.
I like
This is
lots of
this
bad
is
things.
this is like very think of the unhealthiest food that you like, and Armageddon is that. But I love it, and there are moments where I have a genuine emotional reaction to some of the father-daughter scenes in that movie because I let myself get into it. Stuff like that. So yeah, that's my deep dark secret. Or I love action films, but I actually really enjoy some of the emotional moments in them as well. Um, if it's done well. If it's horrible, then it's just horrible, and I'm gonna laugh and be like, really? But yeah, that one's kind of a shorter point to make. And you guys, I'd love to hear what are film genres that you really like that maybe you feel are appreciated, underappreciated, overappreciated, and is there something about them that you like that maybe and it is an aspect of them that you like that maybe is a little like not everybody would see that. Jerk, what's a kind of movie that you really like
Um,
that's not Star Wars?
in terms of genres, I would say fantasy or science fiction.
And is there something in particular that that you like about them that you and this may be and I'm not trying to force the issue if you haven't thought about it, but is there something in particular that you really like about them that maybe is something a little more unique to you, or do you just like them because you like them?
Um, I like that they're they're like in the science fiction is there's allowed to be a lot of creative license with what you do. So you can either go hardcore,
Porn.
was when they say science fiction, you can do. sci-fi where it's not like there's science fiction where it's futuristic, but it's rooted in actual science. With the possibilities. So, like Babylon 5, for example, I really like that because a lot of stuff is scientifically accurate. How you launch fighters is because the station rotates. All you do is you just drop the fighters, and centrifugal force literally throws the fighters out of the station. So there's that, but then you have space fantasy, which would be more like Star Wars, and in all of those
Aha!
you have the ability to be you are allowed to be creative license with with whatever you want to do. So there's a lot of freedom to how you tell a story and how you want the rules of that universe to work, and you get really cool stories out of that. So that's kind of why I like that approach. And in terms of fantasy, it really just depends. Most of that is set in medieval time where you throw back to there's not really modern technology, modern concerns. It's, swords, bows, maybe like early flintlock guns is the limit of technology.
Okay.
Nice.
What about you, Mr. Chewy Man?
I like romantic comedies, but only the good ones.
Is 51st Dates a good one?
It's all right.
Okay.
Like, I always have a top 5 of romantic comedies, and I always forget one. I don't know what's wrong with my brain, but I can never remember all 5 at once. So in no particular order, it's Pretty Woman. Oh, so
Nice.
good. Dirty Dancing. Oh, so good. Serendipity, the one that no one remembers. It's got
I
John
like
Cusack and
Serendipity.
Kate Beckinsale.
Yeah, the book.
Yeah,
He
the
puts
book.
his yeah.
What's the one that Renee and I just watched a couple days ago? Crazy Stupid Love
Mm.
with Steve Carell and Ryan Gosling.
And what's her name?
A couple of them.
Emma. No, Emma Stone.
What's her name? Emma Stone? Is that the
Yeah,
redhead?
I think Emma Stone. Yeah.
Yeah, and also
Okay,
Marissa Tomei.
And what's the 5th one? Can you remember?
I know because there's always one I can't remember. Usually, Crazy Stupid Love is the one that won't come to mind. This time, it's this other mystery one. But
I was gonna say if it's the same one every time, then that's really just a top 4. But
yeah,
it rotates.
but because Renee and I just watched it, then and like in 2 hours, I'll be like, oh, that's what it was, but it's too late.
Do you like Love Actually? Because people either really
I don't
like
remember. I've only seen it once, and it was a very long time ago. But I don't like all romantic comedies. Most of them are crap. A bunch of them are, fine. Like 51st Dates is fine. I think that Drew Barrymore's dad and brother in that movie really were going about it all wrong.
it. Yeah.
But it's an Adam Sandler movie. What the hell do you expect? There are a bunch that are on like a secondary tier. What was it? Sweet Home Alabama. I seem to remember really liking. Well, I haven't seen it in a long time, so it could be that I don't like it anymore. I don't know.
That is a good one, but okay.
Yeah. Anyway, that's the thing. Not many people probably know about me.
I've known you lots of years now, like 20 years, and I did not know that about you. Nice. Mike?
Mike doesn't watch movies.
No, I don't really follow them and go out and see movies in that way.
I mean,
Okay.
I don't really go out and see movies anymore either. But
Well, I never really did. I was never a big movie follower.
Netflix, Mike.
Oh, I know. We've had a subscription for a while, but I just don't do much with it personally.
I know. Sometimes you just keep the handcuffs in the drawer. So, hey Dirk, uh, you is there something else on your list of things that you love?
Um, Something that I saw that I didn't realize how much I really, really enjoyed it was Star Trek Picard. I really love that series.
What was it that you loved about it?
Wait, what series was it?
Star Trek Picard.
Oh, okay.
So, I know it seems like I've always been like only a Star Wars fan, but I was a Star Trek fan much longer than I've been a Star Wars fan. It wasn't until the extended universe stuff came out that I really got into Star Wars. Um, but I watched Star Trek with my dad, my family. We watched The Next Generation, and then Deep Space Nine and Voyager, and that was something that we did, and I fondly remember those days. And Picard was kind of like the all right, well, let me watch this and see how it goes. And it takes a lot of liberties and says, Gene Roddenberry wanted things to be clean and everything to be good. And, if there's conflict, that we're always looking for the best resolution, so that everyone is, you know, you know, no one really feels like, kind of like Germany and after World War I, that they've been defeated and made fun of and belittled and taken advantage of. And Picard kind of takes you to the darker side and says, there are worlds where it's, you know, there's mob activity, but it comes in very nostalgic waves. So like the first season, you find out that there was a like a malfunction that led to like I don't know how much you guys want me to reveal or talk about and everything, but there's stuff happens, and so new policies are put in place that restrict what people can do, like in terms of research. And you kind of meet and get back with a lot of the characters after the fact, and so it takes you kind of down a nostalgic story because you come back to the old characters from Next Generation and see how they're doing, and kind of see how things have changed. Um, with the old Picard group and see how the universe has changed. And things are really wild with how the story unfolds. My favorite is the second one as the Borg and Q come back. And I've cried at the end of that one because of how they wrapped it up.
Hmm.
And then the third season, which is the final one, was just like cherry on the top. This was an amazing way to be like, yeah, okay, we're only getting one more season. What can we do to wrap up this wild ride? And it's literally just a nostalgia, you know, fan pleasing. You wanted this from this show, and we're gonna give it to you. And
You-
they did not miss a beat. And
Sometimes
so
I've sorry, go
it
ahead.
was just a fantastic show. And like I said,
Sometimes
I'm not wanting to give too much out because there's a lot of stuff that there's mystery and intrigue and like why is this? What's going on with this? And why are they doing it this way? And it's not until the end of it that you're like, oh, now it all makes sense, kind of thing.
like see what it's all building up to.
Right.
That's good. I was just gonna say, I didn't mean to interrupt, that I think sometimes playing to nostalgia gets a bad rap these days because it feels like, oh, there's nothing new and they're just catering to what people want or whatever. But I think you can tastefully do a love letter to your fans, especially when you've got a series like Star Trek, where you have people that have been invested in this show or these movies for decades. I think it is possible to do a send off or something and say, this is what we know you guys want. These are stories we know you guys want us to tell. These are characters we know you like. Here you go. Without it coming across completely as fan service, the movie, you know?
Yeah,
So,
this was not that. This was, we're taking this way, but we're gonna, we know that this is what you guys wanted.
mhm,
And it's they did it in a really great way.
good.
And I think what really helped with it is they've had the show, and the show was on for like, I think 9 seasons. And then you had the movies, and the movies kind of, some of them were great and some were not. And this was sort of the last hurrah for the next generation crew, because at this point everyone is just so up in age and kind of done with doing the Star Trek stuff as a group.
Hmm.
Like, they'll still get together and talk and do things together, but no one's really been like, yeah, let's do another movie, let's do another series. And everyone's kind of like, we're that was a great time. We still get
Hmm.
together and talk, but none of us are really just like, yeah, let's get together and do a movie together anymore. Everyone's kind of doing their thing. And
Everybody,
this is what it felt is it really felt like, we're doing this because we've all got our schedules cleared. We're making time to do this. This is our last time together doing this stuff together.
does it feel like they've told the stories they're going to tell?
Yeah. I
There you
don't
go.
really feel like, if they're, not to say they couldn't bring characters back, but I don't feel like it's gonna be the the next generation group. It might be like someone does a cameo at some point, and that's it. And even then, I don't know if they're gonna do it, like, if there's not gonna be Picard season 4.
Gotcha.
They did the series finale. That's done.
Are they kind of like the cast and crew from Galaxy Quest at this point? They're like, we're good.
I think so. Which, again, everyone's got doing their own thing. Everyone's kind of moved on, and they're not really in the, yeah, we're gonna do acting stuff. Like Jonathan Frakes, he's, at this point, he does producing and directing stuff. He doesn't really get in front of the camera anymore. Like, he's very much behind the camera at this point.
Okay, cool. I don't have a whole lot to add for Star Trek, just because I was always a Star Wars guy, and I know you can like both, but I really never saw the original show except for maybe an odd episode. And I saw the whale movie, and I was like, this is pretty cool.
Wow.
I know. I've never seen Monty Python. Uh,
Oh no, I was
my
just wowing
educate,
because you called it the whale movie,
but
and
you knew
yeah, and
exactly
we
which
all
one
just
I
accepted
meant.
that.
Yeah.
We're like, yep.
Was there more than one with whales?
God, I hope not.
It was one of the even ones though, so that means it's good, right?
Yeah.
That's correct.
Of the original ones, yes.
Yeah, of the
6 is
newer
still
ones.
hands down my favorite.
Which one?
Star Trek
6?
6, The Undiscovered Country. That is hands down my favorite. And what I was saying about Picard was what Star Trek 6 was. That was the last movie the original crew all got together to do. And it had to do with just the climate between many of the original series actors, that, and like George Takei, he wanted nothing to do with Shatner, which is the reason why he's the captain of the Excelsior and does not even go near the Enterprise. It's because he was like, if Shatner and I are in the same room, one of us is walking out with a bloody nose. Because they just did not like each other. They even to this day still won't talk to each other.
Wow.
So it's that was the fact that movie got made is kind of a like, oh, thank goodness we got one more in. So that it's the same sort of thing. That was the last time they were going to get everyone together to do a movie together. Any movies that were done, any shows or anything later, you had a handful. You had made like 3 people. I think in Generations, I think there was only 3 of them that showed up for that one, but it was definitely not the whole crew.
So, Mike, what else you got?
Oh, let's see here.
Hardcore pornography.
No.
That's on my list.
Hey, mine too.
Let's see. Thinking about unexpected things. So,
Well, if it's unexpected for Mike, it's softcore. Okay, so I wouldn't strike you as like a Skinamax guy. Mike's like, yeah.
Pull it together, Mike. You can do it.
Old scrambled all the way.
Ooh.
So I really like listening to rock and roll and heavy metal music. Everyone knows that. People who know me particularly well might also know that I also really enjoy like blues and jazz and old folk rock music. But there's some other stuff that might be a little more unexpected. One in particular, there's an indie rock artist, Katie Crutchfield, goes her the band name she performs under is called Waxahachie. That I can't even remember how I found it really several years ago, but there was something about it that was really super compelling. Even like the really like lo-fi quality of the recordings of her first album, and then some of that into her second one, and lo-fi, little production. Songs were all about feelings and love and heartbreak and awkwardness and growing up and all that stuff. But something about the writing and the sound and everything all together, like I said, I just found really compelling. And I've been following her work ever since. I've like fallen off of a lot of my music over the past few years. She released a new album last year that I still haven't picked up and listened to, but I am very interested in trying to pick it up sometime soon and checking it out. But yeah, if I were to sit and start, playing it and you're around, you'd be kind of surprised, like, oh, I didn't know Mike listened to this. It's like, but I do. It's really enjoyable.
That's cool. And here I thought it was going to be a confession that you actually really liked country music.
There is a strong country influence in some of the stuff that she started doing in the past few recent years, like the one she released last year, Tiger's Blood, the one before that, St. Cloud. A little bit of it started to show up in the one previous to that, but I do appreciate country music, older country music, a little more than a lot more than newer style country music. Newer style country music is just crappy rock and roll, honestly. Instead of being like good, instead of being good country music, it's just crappy rock and roll for a lot of it.
Well, how about that?
Cool. For music, I guess another guilty pleasure. When I was in high school, I was kind of getting into techno. It didn't last terribly long. In that Eminem song where he says nobody listens to techno, when he's talking about Moby, I was like, hey. But I think part of it was just very much I would listen to any music that was from a video game, period, and more just like that synthetic stuff. I'll still listen to it, but it doesn't mean the same thing to me. So,
Oh, does that mean it's my turn again?
yes, it does.
Dude, okay, I went super specific for this one.
Okay.
I love Ocean's 11. Not the original with Sinatra. I've seen that movie. It sucks. Oh, but it's iconic. No, it sucks. It's old and boring and sucks. But it does have Sinatra in it. Sure. But anyway, Ocean's 11. 12 and 13 too. But mainly 11. 11 is... There are only a handful of movies that I would be like, this is a perfect film. And Ocean's 11 is one of those. It's the movie that if I see it on a streaming service somewhere, because it's one of those where the rights get passed around and it'll be on, it's on Max, it's on Hulu, it's on Netflix. Whenever I see it somewhere, I have to force myself to not just immediately watch it. Because I will. Like, I have to look at the time. Oh, wait, I got to dash in, half an hour. Let's not start, a 2-hour movie or however long it is. But for those of you that don't know, it's a heist movie, which is my favorite, like, sub-genre of movies. Starring, let's see, who's in it?
Everybody.
George Clooney, Brad Pitt, Matt Damon, Don Cheadle, Bernie Mac, Carl Reiner. Isn't he dead? I think he's dead too.
Maybe.
What, Carl Reiner?
I don't know enough to know.
Heaven forbid anybody Google something but me.
Carl, is that with a K or a C?
By the time I explain it, it'll be done. Yep, he died in 2020. Okay.
I was on it. Jeez. Okay.
Julie Roberts is in it. Who's the bad guy? Anthony something. Not Anthony. What the hell is his name? Andy Garcia. There we go.
I was against it. I can see him, but
yeah. It is one of the few just perfect movies. Steven Soderbergh directed it, and his style is a trip. Like, the cinematography is brilliant. There are a lot of shots that are just fun and very classy. Like, what always comes to mind is a shot of Clooney and Pitt driving in a car, and there's a camera mounted on, like, it looks like they've just put like a pole in the back seat of this convertible and lifted it up above the car and just hit record while they drive. There's no reason for that shot to be there other than to be cool and stylish. Like, when Clooney goes to Chicago to recruit Linus, Matt Damon, the entire style of filming changes.
Yeah.
And just, again, for no reason other than to be stylish and cool and to give Soderbergh, something to do and have some fun. And I just love it. The entire cast is brilliant. All the characters, and again, it's Ocean's 11, and then Julie Roberts and Andy Garcia. All of the characters get at least a couple of moments to shine. That happened less and less as the series progressed.
Yes.
just because they
I
wanted
am
to focus on a different story. So the characters were all just kind of there.
I still like 13.
Oh yeah, I love
12
13.
is 12 is my least favorite by far. But 11, like you said, is just an awesome movie. We showed Sam Ocean's 11. And we haven't shown her the others in the series yet because we wanted to get her into it. And she's like, it's pretty good. I was like, look at all this clever stuff they do, like with the vault and that sort of stuff. And she said that she kind of saw some of it coming, which she really is intuitive. But I think I don't know. I don't know that she enjoyed it as much as myself and her mom do. But we're there with Chewie. I don't know that I love it to the extent of like have to see it whenever it's on. But if I haven't seen it in a while, I am happy to sit down and take it in, even though I've seen it like probably over 7 times, which is probably a fraction of how many times you've seen it.
Oh yeah. Like, sadly, right now it is not on any streaming service for free. You can rent it on, the usual suspects, but it's not streaming anywhere, which is weird because it's always streaming somewhere. And I still haven't seen Ocean's 8. I feel bad about that.
It was good. I think some people gave it flack because it's an all-female cast, but it was a very
But
good
those people
story.
are stupid and not worth listening to, so.
They are, yes.
But like, it was on Max forever. And when I finally was like, oh, I should watch Ocean's 8, it was gone. And I've never seen it streaming anywhere else since. And at the moment, it is also not streaming anywhere else. Thanks, Internet. But I think what I love about it, I found out I also like a bunch of other Soderbergh films that I never realized, including Logan Lucky, which is another completely different flavor of heist movie. But like they treat the audience like they're intelligent. Like they don't, the filmmakers don't feel the need to have to spell everything out 100%. I had no idea that Soderbergh did the Magic Mike movies. Well, now I gotta watch those. He did Aaron Brockovich? Really?
Aaron Brockovich was a well-made film.
Steven Soderbergh, yeah. I didn't know that either. Like, I'd forgotten, Renee and I just watched Logan Lucky again, just a few weeks ago. And I wasn't paying attention at the beginning to the opening credits, but at the end it was like, directed by Steven Soderbergh, and I went, oh, right. Because that's another movie that treats the audience like it's intelligent and doesn't feel the need to be like, okay, so what actually happened was, it just shows you and leaves it to you to figure it out.
I missed the title you said. What movie's that?
Logan Lucky.
Okay.
That one is a trip. It's got Channing Tatum is the main character. Is that his name? The hot guy that was Gambit? Yeah, Channing Tatum and Adam Driver are the main characters. Daniel Craig is in it as Joe Bang. And it's just like they're West Virginia country boys trying to rob Charlotte Motor Speedway, and it is it's really good. It's not Ocean's 11 good. Let's not get silly, but it's really good.
Cool.
But yeah, that's the one I went very specific on because there's a lot of little things that, a lot of people won't pick up on, little subtleties, things like that. Like Brad Pitt's character is always eating because he's like in not every scene, but in a lot of his scenes, he's got something that he's putting in his face because Rusty is a busy guy and he's probably not going to take time to sit down and eat a meal. He's always got something else going on, so he just eats whenever possible. Little things like that. Like Andy Garcia at one point is on the phone having an angry conversation because he is the owner of the casinos in Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
And he's on the phone with somebody, and you hear, well, look, I'm not giving him tickets. Tell Mr. Levin that if he wants to watch the fight, he can watch it. Surely he has cable. And he's talking about the guy who owned, was it Comcast or Time Warner? One of the big like cable companies at the time.
Okay.
And like, if you don't know that, it doesn't take anything away. But if you do know that, it's like, and that tells you more about Andy Garcia's character, that someone that, you know, big and rich and important like that, he can be like, no, screw him.
You remember the original movie Airplane?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And there's a character who is stuck out in a taxi for the whole movie because his taxi driver pulls up at the airport and runs out to see his girlfriend and ends up getting on the plane. And he's stuck there just waiting in the taxi as the fare's going up and up and up and up. And my dad was showing me this movie when I was younger, and the guy in the taxi had something to do with infrastructure, like he was a politician or something, and he was tied into revenue. And so it was one of those things where, oh, you're like, oh, that poor guy in the taxi, and you're also like, why doesn't he just get out or whatever? And apparently in real life he was somebody that was directly tied to commerce, and it was some sort of joke about how he was spending money or something.
He was Howard Jarvis, the fiscally conservative man who spearheaded Proposition 13 in California, which slashed property taxes to homeowners.
That. So that was
kind
of
that
the whole
people
point.
at the time would have been like, but us watching it later is like, okay.
Exactly.
Like, it's still
and
funny
so,
because he's in the cab and he won't get out, and it's still that kind of absurd, but we're missing the layer of...
Right. Whereas if you know who the president of Comcast is, when Andy Garcia's on the phone, you get a little extra chuckle. So
yeah.
I like layering like that. And I also like it when it's done in that way where you don't have to know who that is, because you're still informed as to the character of the casino owner in this without, you already get the tone of that. It's just a little bit of extra.
Let's see. He's referring to real-life media mogul and former CEO of HBO, Gerald Levin. Ah, there we go. It's the guy that owns HBO, or that ran HBO at the time. That's who Mr. Levin was in Ocean's 11.
Ah,
right.
I Googled it because I couldn't remember specifically, and it was bothering me.
And see, HBO is on cable, so therefore he should have cable.
Yeah, surely he's got cable.
I see what they did there. Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, it's one of my perfect films. There aren't many. Groundhog Day is another one, which I just watched on Groundhog Day, and you know what? It holds up.
oh, good.
I've been thinking about showing that to Sam. I have a whole list of movies that I want to show her, and she's in 8th grade now. She has had so much homework, so many projects. She's doing sports and like Battle of the Books and all that I've had to like really pick and choose. So I'm sure I'll hit her with like a dozen movies over the summer,
Blam.
which shouldn't hurt too badly because most of them are digital these days.
Let's hope so.
Well, it's after 10. Do we want to try to do one more round of stuff we love, or are we thinking about wrapping it up?
I mean, it would have to be a lightning round for Dirk's sake.
Yes, for my
That is
sake.
true.
Tell you what, I'll go first. Letterkenny. It's a show on Hulu. The thing I keep saying when I watch it is, how can a show that's this stupid be so smart? Because, like, it's loaded with like dick and fart jokes. It's about Hicks who spit and fight, and hockey players who are dumb as posts, and skids who are meth dealers, and yet the writing is constantly super clever. The characters, while not super like deep, they're all relatively shallow characters, but they're used as archetypes essentially to tell broader stories. And Renee was like, "Oh yeah, I never finished Letterkenny. We need to watch that sometime." I was like, "I will watch Letterkenny with you anytime because I've already watched the entire series. I don't know, like 3 or 4 times." So we're watching it again, and it is just brilliant.
Nice.
And I've noticed there's no like country music. It's all like hip hop and techno and whatnot. But even like some of the
Nobody listens
cinematography,
to
they
techno.
have a tendency to do a lot of shots of like montages of things with just music playing behind it. And some of them are just, oh, there's a fight, so it'll cut to some music playing while the various highlights of the fight happen. But for some of them, they're actually like telling us a story. That and for most people watching Letterkenny, because again, it's such a stupid show, but it's so clever. They won't even notice that you're watching essentially like an art student's, tell a story without using dialogue reel, because you never question what's going on. Everything is very clear. And I love stuff like that when it's randomly in the middle of a show where just a minute ago they were talking about, the pluses and minuses to butt sex. Like it's a lot, but each episode is 22 minutes, so it's very digestible, and there's not much of like an overarching story, so you can just watch episodes however. Like each season, which has 6 episodes, has roughly a theme going on, but there's not much of an overarching story. It's just like episodic, like here's what the Hicks are doing this episode. So if you haven't watched Letterkenny,
Cool.
I highly recommend it.
Okay. If we're continuing the lightning round, I have a note here. So I like fantasy, and I love certain things about fantasy, and magic is almost always tied into that because, yes, you can have fantasy without magic. Like a lot of the Game of Thrones, you could actually do a lot of Game of Thrones without magic, but it's tied into a lot of things really well. What I had a note for is I love it when you have a world, and I love world building all on its own, but I love it when you have a world with a thought out magic system. And a note here, the anime Fairy Tale has a very well done magic system. Not everybody loves it because there's a certain point in which it's like friendship is my power, and it's an anime. So, but a lot of how it works is laid out really well. I also had a note Final Fantasy 15 with Noctis, the boy band trip around the world. I liked how when you crafted spells in that game, spells instead of having magic points or MP, you would basically take a potion bottle and fill it with magic, and you could fill it like this much fire, this much thunder, this much something else, and if you mixed cure in there, like it became a potion that would heal you, but would also deal fire damage and other stuff to the surrounding area. And so I liked how intricate that was instead of just I mean, I cast fire. Fire 3 is fine, but how it was tied into the world building was really good. Full Metal Alchemist is brilliant on that. And at the other end, I love Lord of the Rings, but magic is Gandalf does what the story needs Gandalf to do. In a nutshell, Saruman has these powers, and they're ambiguous, and it's a soft magic system. And I
And very
love
subtle.
99. It's very subtle, and that's fine for what it is. And somebody is gonna say, I prefer that, and some people prefer a subtle system or or a soft magic system to a hard one. But for me, it's like I can gloss over it, but spoiler alert, Gandalf was never my favorite character, and he spends a lot of the books off screen anyway. And he basically shows up. He's kind of like a Deus ex machina more than once. So the story in Lord of the Rings is not even entirely about the magic, it's about the characters going on the quest. And I like that for what it is. But as far as the world building, eh, so that's my thing. Again, world building, great. In a fantasy system, I really look at how good is your magic system? How much does it make sense? Or is it just Avada Kedavra? Because
Uh,
in Harry Potter, Avada Kedavra breaks every other spell. Like, I could make you float up in the air or I could kill you. So, Dirk, what were you going to say?
I was gonna say lightning round for mine is DuckTales, the
Ooh.
2017 one.
That's awesome.
I
I love
still
that
need to
show.
watch that.
I've watched it with Sam
That one is
twice,
amazing.
and she
It
wants to
is.
start it again. And I'm like, but we
Nice.
have all this other stuff to watch. No,
It's like
100.
no, that is probably one of my guilty pleasures. Is like there is nothing to put on. I don't want to watch this and this. Okay, Disney Plus. I'm just gonna put on DuckTales.
Oh, dude, Dirk. In my guilty pleasures, I wrote down a couple things like Armageddon and like The Dark Knight Rises, which is not the strongest entry in that trilogy, but I still really like because everything Bane says is quotable. DuckTales 2017 is not a guilty pleasure. It is just
Yeah,
pleasure.
that is just pleasure.
Yeah. It's whatever kind of handcuffs you want.
But yeah, I thoroughly enjoy that one. It has the premise of the original series, but also goes in its own direction. It calls back to all the 90s cartoons that we watched and
Hmm.
loved and enjoyed from the Disney from Disney and everything. So it's just a
Yeah.
masterpiece.
From
It
from
actually
Rescue
has a
Rangers.
story.
Yeah. Go ahead.
That was
Well,
it. It
that's it for
actually has a
mine.
story.
Oh, and
Yeah.
they said Ashley has a story, and I'm like, this is not coming from Mike, but okay. She must have told Chewie at some point. So, yeah. No, it's great.
Yeah, she wanted to return my fuzzy handcuffs.
Mm. Yes, while watching Darkwing Duck.
That's dangerous.
Look, when there's trouble, you call DW.
When um I really want to avoid spoilers, but it's DuckTales. When a character goes to the moon and the moon theme from the Game Boy game is
NES game.
used. Was it NES? I thought it
Yep.
was originally on the Game Boy. Is used like they use a stylized version of that. I mean, these are the people that made this show knew what they were doing and loved every minute of it. I think it is only a shame that it's only 3 seasons, but they never had a chance to really make a bad episode. So hey,
That
there's
is
that.
true. And everything ties back to everything ties back in some way, shape, or form.
Yes. Sorry, I didn't mean to take over your thought. Just 100% agree with you.
Well, that's mine. Mike, last one.
All right, last one. Um, oh shoot, I had a fully formed thought. Oh yes, YouTube channel, Tasting History. Um, the guy does like serious in-depth research for these recipes, going to original sources and doing other research about the historical context for them. So you get to see some interesting dishes, many of them precursors to create common modern dishes, but just from a really long time ago. And some of them have some interesting key differences. and then he goes into the history about the dish, or the time period that he's cooking from and reading the recipe from, and how it might have changed into what we understand today. So yeah, tasting history on YouTube, very interesting. Ashley and I really enjoy watching it.
I just went to YouTube and I put in tasting, and the first hit at the top is history, and the one beneath that is tasting history with Max Miller. So is that the same
Yes.
guy? And then
Yes,
it's
that's
a
him.
bunch of tasting history: pizza, sugar plums, Titanic. So
Oh yeah, there's tons of interesting videos. He's been doing it for a while.
nice. 2 days ago, he put up a video about handmade Roman cheese, and
Oh, we haven't seen that one yet.
I may have to watch this next.
Valentine's night at the Shiver House.
Basically.
Hey, baby, let's you and me snuggle up and watch handmade Roman cheese.
Oh, you laugh, but that line is totally gonna get some
Oh,
play around here.
all right. Oh, okay. Are we done? I think we're
I
done.
wasn't laughing. I know that would work. Hell, that would work on me. And it doesn't matter which of you said it. By that I mean
All right.
Mike or Ashley, not which of you guys.
All right, I gotta head to bed, so we do final thoughts.
Yep. That was things that we love that you might not know
Yes.
about. Dirk, what you got for the final thought?
So my school had a upcoming ninth grade night, so middle school moving up to ninth grade, and so Trevor went to go meet teachers and see clubs and activities and everything, and I think he's really excited about moving up. I did not realize how exciting that the younger two would be, because our school has an engineering program where they do 3D printing and they learn how to build computers, like hardware, software, components, mechanical stuff, like I said, with 3D printers. And Leighton was like, I want to do this. What do I have to do in order to do this track? And they're like, well, usually you do maybe one or two of these 4 tracks and everything. And Leighton's like, I want to take them all. Like, this sheet has 20 some classes on it. I want to take them all. I'm not worried about math. I'm not worried about science and history and everything. I just want to take these classes.
Get this boy a time turner.
Which is even funnier is that Penny had no interest in going to the school I teach at. She wanted to go to the other school that she's
of
actually
course you do.
district. Yeah, that she's actually district for. But we're like, no, you're going to come to my school. But I was like, if she wants to do that, I don't know if I want to fight that battle and everything. But then when she went to that transition night, it was either last night or the night before, when she saw the engineering stuff and what they were doing and everything, she was like, oh no, I want to go here now. Are you sure? No, I'm coming here. This is where I'm going to school. I was like, wow, I don't have to fight that battle anymore. Just be like,
even
you
though
do
you're
3D
there.
printing? Yes, okay, well, that's where you're going.
Even though you're there, so take the win.
That's correct.
Oh, I definitely took the win. I was like, thanks, guys. I didn't have to fight this battle anymore. So that's my final thought. And with that, unfortunately, I have to leave before I turn into a pumpkin.
Have a good night.
All right, good night, everybody.
As long as you don't turn into pumpkin spice.
Oh, I'm not that nice. Bye, guys.
Oh, I thought you meant like the Spice Girl pumpkin spice. Bye.
There is
Bye.
no what?
I don't know the Spice Girls.
Oh my god. There was baby,
So-
scary, sporty, ginger. I missed one. Baby, sporty, scary, ginger. Who's the other Spice? There were 5 of them. Posh. How did I forget Posh?
There you go.
Because I don't think of her as a Spice Girl anymore.
So, for my final thought, things are going okay. Work has been absolutely insane lately, but I'm glad that I could be here today. I'm just trying to see. I know we're doing final thoughts. I'm just trying to see if there's anything. I feel like some of the things I had on my list are things that people know about me already, but something I may have mentioned on other episodes. This is maybe not a love, but it's more of a I feel like I defend this is Topher Grace cast as Eddie Brock. So many people are like he was miscast or whatever. I really
He
liked
was.
the thought of not Eddie Brock as this kind of big tough guy, but more as a mirror image of Peter Parker. The way Peter Parker is in the film, like he's a skinny dude. He's kind of bookish. He plays that up when he wears the glasses for a while, and I know he ditches that, and then they come back in later ones. But he he doesn't hold himself up a whole lot. Peter Parker, when he's played by Tobey Maguire, is not really outspoken. Some of the other Peter Parkers are a lot more self confident. They carry themselves differently. Toby's is much more meek, much more kind of taking things like in stride, but still struggles a lot. And Topher is a slight guy, and he's on the skinny side. And the way he plays him is basically Peter, but if he didn't have the moral center, if he didn't have Uncle Ben, it's too bad Dirk's gone because this kind of feeds into the anti-hero bit. And he takes the shortcuts. He, photoshops his work. When Peter tells him to get religion, he goes to church and asks God to kill Peter Parker, like very literally. And he bonds with the Venom symbiote very easily, and where he doesn't reject it at all, and like Peter, who's fighting it for a lot of the time. I liked it more as the mirror image. I know it's not true to the comic books. I know a lot of people prefer, um, what's his name? Tom Hardy,
That is his
who also
name.
played Bane and was awesome in that movie. And I think Venom in those movies is a very different beast. But I do, and so this was less of a I really love him in that, and more of a I really thought he did a good job with it, and I thought he was definitely one of the better parts in a movie that was had too many villains and too many subplots and was weighed down by trying to do too much, and it couldn't decide if it was serious or silly and what's going on with MJ and all that. I definitely thought he was one of the better parts of that movie. I realize that other people feel differently.
Yeah.
That's too bad.
There is nothing sinister about Topher Grace. Like,
No, and that's part of the point.
and him trying to be Venom was just like you just want to put your hand on his face and push and be like, shut the hell up.
They should have they I think, and that's the thing with actors is they want you to see their face like, hey, I'm playing this guy. But when his face is covered with the Venom
Well, then he's just a
mask, it
CD
works.
or CG creature, so it's not Topher Grace.
Uh, I see your point, but again, I don't mind him in the human moments. So that's my that's my final thought.
I thought he was
Mike,
terrible. I mean, his acting was
you're
fine, but he was horribly miscast. And not just like,
agr-
oh, Eddie Brock should be big and scary. No, that doesn't bother me at all. Is Topher Grace is just a dork and needs to not try to do that sort of thing. At least at that point in his career. I haven't seen him in a while.
he hasn't been around in a while, I don't think. But we're agreeing to disagree, even though one of us is clearly right, and we'll just leave it at that. Hey, Mike, before we devolve further, what final thought do you have?
Um, doo, doo, doo. No, I think my lightning round entry was my final thought for today.
Okay.
Mike will not be thinking anymore today. Oh, I
No.
do, before Brian leaves, because I know he's about to dip, I do want to say that despite Brian bringing up various Harry Potter references throughout the entire episode, we hate J.K. Rowling and the monster that she has become because trans people are people and she can go to hell.
They are very much people, and trans rights are human rights. This is definitely one of those trying for me, and some people are just going to be like, you know what? No, because they can just cut out everything that she's ever done, and I don't blame them for that. For me, and for what she has done, not she, what her works have done for my family, how much Sam has gotten out of Harry Potter, and how much it's really, I think, tied in or encouraged a whole generation to pick up a darn book. I try to separate the art from the artist, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But she, yes, under the guise, and it is a guise of trying to protect women's rights, her views on trans rights are
Wrong.
abysmal. Yeah.
And evil. And she will pay one way or the other. Seriously though, don't do anything that gives her money, because she really believes that all the people that buy her Harry Potter stuff and feed money into her thinks that means that everyone agrees with her. So,
Yeah.
put on your eye patch and get your peg leg out if you're going to try to find some Harry Potter stuff.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. Yar and whatnot. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there because I know there are a lot of people that every time you would do that, they're going, "Grr!" And I'm one of those people. So don't worry, we don't support her at all.
No.
Ow. Anyway, do I have a final thought? Charity stream? Starting March, what was it? Nope, that's February 21st, 21, 22, 23, as it stands now. Unless something horrible happens, that'll be it. I've been playing a lot of Yakuza 0, as you heard on the odds and ends for last week. And you heard, weirdly, between the odds and ends and the start of the show, I went off on it again to these dorks. Sorry for not including that in the odds and ends. I thought about it about halfway through and went, oh, I should have been recording this. But it is a vast and expansive game. I've got like 70 hours into it, and I'm about, I think, just over the halfway point in the story for the two characters. Because there's so much just other stuff to do. Like I was telling the dorks, if I want to 100% this game, I have to learn how to play Mahjong. And no, not that old computer game where you match tiles and they disappeared. That's not Mahjong. I mean like actual Chinese Mahjong, Japanese Mahjong. And I don't understand. And the in-game explanation is really like quick and dirty, and it did not stick. I'm like, so we're trying to match sets. Got it. And it didn't help. It did not help.
So is
like-
it
Like
like a trick taking game but with tiles instead of cards?
Sort of, yeah. But it's very specific. Like the basic thing, it said you have, X number of like triplets and then a pair. And I said, okay. And the triplets can either be runs, like straights, or three of kind. And I had my entire board or hand or whatever was either straights or three of a kind, and then I had a pair. And the game didn't end, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. So I had to just keep discarding tiles that I didn't want to discard, because there's no option to be like, hey, press the I win button. There wasn't. So there are different types of hands. There are a crap load of different types of hands that count. And apparently what I had didn't. So what I'm saying is it's very complex, and I don't understand it. And I have to learn how to play, because there are multiple things in the completion list that are Mahjong related. And I'm like, oh, goody. Again, that's if I want to 100% it. And for Yakuza 0, which is one of the biggest and most expansive games in the series, of course, that's where I started. I don't know if I'm going to do that. But yeah. It's so good. It keeps alternating between serious as a heart attack and straight up stupid. And I love it so much. Is that it? I guess that's it for now. Yeah. Oh. And I love my girlfriend.
Oh, he got to say it.
And no one cares but me and her. Like, you're all like, yes, we're happy for you, but we don't care.
It's sweet.
Mwah. I'm going to go kiss her as soon as we're done recording.
Look at you being all hetero.
I know, it's disgusting. Is that it? Yeah, that's it. I will start Final Fantasy VI very soon. Finally. And I'll continue playing Balatro whenever I get a chance, because addicting. Oh my god, I finally got my first scientific notation score in Balatro. Like, I had so many points that it was giving me the E. For those of you that don't remember, middle and high school, scientific notation is like a number, E, another number, and that means number times 10 to the second number. So like 8.62 E14 is 8.62 times 10 to the 14th. And that's about as high as I got. The target score that ended up failing on was E17. So I was 3 orders of magnitude away from reaching that score, because once you hit endless mode, that stuff ramps fast. But it was the best scores I'd ever gotten, and I was very excited to see the scientific notation start popping up. I went, huh! And of course that happened when I wasn't streaming. And when I am streaming, I lose on the third ante. It's just... But anyway, right. So is that it for us? I will take your silence as a yes. But I just remembered we've got to thank the Mythic Lifeguards over on patreon.com/themanapool. Aw, yeah. So thank you to Al, Kim Ho, Scuzzo, Jake Jansons, Michael, Team U Hills How Are You, Violet Moon, Jason Kaus, Casey, Jason Doan, ALK Alters, and Andrew Odie. And to all of you other lifeguards at every tier. I hope you enjoy the odds and ends, if you're at the appropriate level for that, because except for last week's and this week's, as of right this second, they're all up. And obviously this week's isn't up yet, because we're still recording the show. We haven't even done the second half of this week's yet. Oh my god, y'all. Calm down.
No.
Fair enough. So, this has been episode 717 of The Manapool. Thank you all so very much for joining us, and what do you love? Other than, your significant other and your parents and your children and your pets, because no one cares about that. What do you love? Let us know.